All right, let's talk about the magic of storytelling. You know how some stories just stick with you for your whole life, while others just kind of fade away the second they're over? Ever wondered why that is? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and find out. So what is it? What makes a story so powerful that it just burrows into your memory and stays there? Is it just some kind of magic, or is there a formula? Turns out it's not magic. The greatest storytellers from way back in the day to today's biggest filmmakers, they all use a surprisingly similar set of tools, and we are going to get into all of them. So here's the plan for today. We're going to start with the absolute basics, the foundation. Then we'll look at the story's blueprint, check out the 7 basic plots, figure out how to create amazing characters, and finally, look at the secret tools that make it all shine.
Okay, let's dive into Act 1, the foundation. Look, before you even start thinking about cool plot twists or fascinating characters, you've got to ask yourself 2 really important questions.
First up is the situation. You have to know the how and the where of your story. I mean, are you telling it around a campfire? Is it a formal scientific paper? Or maybe it's a huge, sprawling video game. The medium you choose isn't just some box you put your story in. It completely changes the way you have to tell it. And number 2, which is just as important, is your audience. Seriously, who are you talking to? And why should they care about this story? You got to know what you want them to walk away feeling or thinking. Because honestly, a story that doesn't know its audience, it's basically just talking to an empty room.
All right, moving on to Act 2, the confrontation. So you know where you're telling your story and who you're telling it to. Now you've hit your first big creative hurdle. You have to pick the actual blueprint for your narrative. And really, it boils down to 2 main options. First, you've got the dramatic structure. Think of this as all about action, conflict, and emotion. It's a chain reaction. Then you have the epic structure. This one is less about action and more about ideas and reflection. It's a collection of moments that all add up to one big thought.
The dramatic structure, yeah, that's your classic roller coaster. You know the drill. Something kicks things off, the tension builds and builds, that's your rising action, then bam, you hit the climax and everything comes to a clear resolution. The dominoes analogy is perfect. Every single event pushes the next one over.
Now the epic structure is a whole different beast. Forget the roller coaster. This is more like connecting the dots in a constellation. You have a narrator who's linking different scenes or ideas together. And the big goal here isn't to make you ask, oh my gosh, what happens next? It's to make you think. The story is over when that central idea feels complete.
Okay, so you've picked your blueprint. Now what? How do you actually fill it with, a story? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. Because it turns out that pretty much every story you've ever loved, seriously, fits into just a few universal patterns.
Yep, you're looking at them right here, the 7 basic plots. It doesn't matter how original or wild a story seems, chances are it's one of these. Why? Because these are the stories we are just fundamentally wired to understand as human beings.
Think about it. A hero goes up against some terrible evil. That's overcoming the monster. A bunch of friends go on a long journey to find something important. Yep, that's the quest. Once you know what to look for, I'm telling you, you will see these plots absolutely everywhere. But the plot, the what happens part, that's only half of it. The other, arguably more important half, is the theme. That's the core message. It's what the story's really about. One of our sources uses this great word, the sensmoral. That's the soul of your story.
All right, so we've got our structure, we've got our plot, we even have a theme. What's missing? People. You need to fill that world with unforgettable characters. They're the ones who are going to guide your audience through the whole thing.
And in almost any story, you're going to find these key roles. You've got your protagonist, the person we're all rooting for, and the antagonist, who's trying to stop them. But then you get into archetypes versus stereotypes, and this is important. An archetype, like the hero, is a deep, timeless pattern. A stereotype, that's just a lazy, flat shortcut. The best stories always go for the archetype.
The best characters are built from the inside out. A great writer knows everything about them, not just how they look, but their whole backstory, their social life, and especially what's going on in their head, their secret hopes, their biggest fears, all of it. And even if you don't spell it all out for the audience, trust me, they can feel that depth. It makes the character feel real.
And that brings us to our final piece of the puzzle, the final polish. We've built the whole thing, structure, plot, characters. Now we're talking about the specific tools, the little tricks of the trade that a storyteller uses to actually present it all to an audience.
First up, we have what are called story elements. This is super simple. It's basically anything that's real inside the world of the story. If a character in the story can see it, touch it, or hear it, then it's a story element.
Let's take a classic example, like Casablanca. Think about it. Rick's iconic white tuxedo, Sam's piano, all that witty dialogue, the whole vibe of that smoky bar, all of those are story elements. They're the building blocks that make that world feel completely real.
But then there's another category, narrative elements. Now these are different. These are the techniques the storyteller uses to show us that world. And here's the key. The characters in the story have absolutely no idea these things are even happening.
I mean, what's the most classic example? That epic movie trailer voice, in a world, right? That voice is a perfect narrative element. The characters in the story can't hear that guy, but that voice completely sets the tone and shapes how we experience the story before it even starts.
And hey, little fun fact, how do they even get that voice? It's pure technique. The pros will tell you, you got to get right up on the microphone, you speak in a low volume to make the bass pop, and you breathe from your belly. It's a total craft, and it's designed for one reason, to mess with our emotions and get us hyped.
And of course, there are so many other narrative tools. That low camera angle that makes a villain look huge and scary, the super fast editing in a car chase, and oh man, the music. The characters can't hear that romantic piano swell, but we sure can, and it's telling us exactly what we're supposed to be feeling.
So, there it is. The blueprint, the 7 basic plots, the deep characters, and all the tools in the toolbox. These are the secret ingredients behind every single story that's ever made you laugh, or cry, or just look at the world a little bit differently. So now that you know the secrets, the only question left is, what story are you going to tell?